I just got hit with a $1,000 water and sewer bill at one of my multifamily rental properties, and I want to make sure that never happens to you. My name's Kevin, I'm the Property Prince, and I'm from Two Guys Take on Real Estate, and I want to help you keep all of your rental property profits from going down the drain. So take a second, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notifications bell so you can learn from all of our upcoming videos how you can make a huge splash in the world of real estate.
Two Guys Take on Real Estate.
Okay, I hope I used up most of my water puns at the intro of this video, but let's dive right into the subject. How to avoid, that's another water pun, how to avoid letting your tenants run up a huge water and sewer bill at your rental properties. Now, the way I see it, water and sewer costs should be pretty small and manageable and something you factored in already to your rental analysis worksheet when you acquired the property. Sometimes these expenses can jump to incredibly high numbers, and that will throw your property off track for the entire year, meaning you're pretty much working almost all year and giving all your profits back from one or two water bills. So how can you avoid this? The way I look at it, these things happen in two different types of categories. One is generally a structural or mechanical issues at the property, and the second is usually behavioral issues with the tenants or the people at the property. So let's take a look at how these two things go down and how you can avoid these things from taking all of your profits and eroding them for the entire year. In this case here, let's look at mechanical or structural things. Now, when you get a surprise huge water and sewer bill, the first thing you need to do is jump into action and do a full inspection of every unit at the property, guaranteed. Make sure you start at the top and you work your way down, including the basement and exterior of the property, to look for any mechanical, structural issues. These are going to be things like, are there aerators on the kitchen sink? Are there aerators on the bathroom sinks? These are like little screen nozzles that go under the faucets. They will lessen the water flow. They are frequently removed by tenants, so make sure you check for that. The second thing that you should be looking at the property is one of the most common ways in which water gets wasted, and that's from a leaky toilet. Now, a leaky toilet isn't what you might be thinking, where water is pouring out around the floor or around the base of the toilet or anything like that. And that's why these are one of the biggest culprits of a high water bill, is because tenants have leaky toilets and they don't report them to you because they don't think much of it. A leaky toilet is the jiggly handle syndrome. It's where basically you have to jiggle the handle to get the toilet to stop making that running sound. And oftentimes tenants won't handle that very well by reporting it to you. These are something that are usually, this is something that's usually a very easy fix and can easily be taken care of in a small and very short, inexpensive maintenance visit. If the tenant were to report that to you, you would have saved yourself a huge bill. But instead, that doesn't always happen, and this is something you can prevent by making sure all the hardware is very, very new and updated in the toilet. These rebuild kits are very inexpensive. Make sure everything's functioning properly and coach your tenant to let you know if they ever have to get into a situation where they have to jiggle the toilet frequently to get it to stop running, that they should be contacting you and you'll take care of the issue. Now, you can inspect this by putting some food dye in or food coloring into the tank at the back of the toilet, seeing if it leaks through to the bowl as well. There's a number of other things you should be looking at the property itself. When you get into the basement, of course, you want to be looking for any signs of dampness, any signs of leaks, even pinhole leaks. Not only is that going to cost you in water bill, it's going to cost you in issues with mold and problems with rot at the property later. Now, as you get to the outside of the property, you want to check and see if there's like an exterior spigot. Sometimes there's issues with that. And of course, while you're at the property, anything that's connected, like washers and dryers, for instance, you want to make sure they're working properly. They're not leaking or causing a leak while they run. Sometimes a washer and dryer might not look like it's leaking, but when it runs, a lot of the water is actually pouring out. If these things are in the basement, especially if it's a dirt floor basement, you don't always notice these things. When you get done looking at all the structural stuff and the mechanical aspect of the property, what's left is the behavioral issues that are caused by the tenants that will cost you in your bottom line by having a huge wasteful water bill. These issues frequently are things like washers and dryers. So if you do permit washers and dryers at your property, or if you supply them, these things could change based on the tenant's usage. So if you get a new tenant in where you had a tenant before, you replaced them with a newer tenant, and all of a sudden you see a massive increase in your water and sewer bill, it could be because the new household is doing a lot more laundry. Now take it from me, I've seen almost everything, and I've seen where we had a household that just does a couple of loads of laundry a week to a household that does closer to 70 loads of laundry a week. Their machines are constantly running. Why? Because they're having all their friends and their family come over to do laundry at their place because they don't have a laundry machine or laundry hookups in their apartment. So they got all their friends coming over during the week and they're all doing laundry at your property on your water and sewer dime. Now, the next thing you might want to notice at the property is, and I've seen this happen, is if the tenants are washing their cars in the driveway or washing their vehicles at the property. Now, if they're doing this, it might be that they're connecting it to an exterior spigot. Now, if you still left your spigot connected, you're gonna have a hard time disconnecting it and not allowing the tenants to use it anymore. Make sure if they are using it, they're using it in a responsible manner. I've pulled up at properties where a tenant was washing their car, they don't have a nozzle or any kind of a controller on the hose hooked up to the spigot, and they're just washing the car while the hose runs full blast, and they're taking their time, they're chatting with their friends, they pause to take a phone call. Meanwhile, your water and sewer bills are flooding right down the street. I saw a property that was basically had an ocean worth of water just pouring down the driveway and into the nearby storm drain because this person was just letting the faucet, letting the hose run full blast the entire time. Other ways, people will use pools. A lot of times if a tenant has a smaller kiddie pool, they don't have filters, so the tenants usually will dump the pool out, refill the pool, dump the pool out, refill the pool. This can go on and on and on all summer long. Every couple of days, they're changing out the water in that pool, costing you a fortune. So these are going to be things that are harder to spot, but it's certainly something you need to be aware of. If you're frequently at your property, if this is your first property, chances are you're at it a little bit more often than if you have a ton of properties. These are things you need to be noticing when you're there. If you notice kiddie pools, sprinklers, hoses from like a car wash or hoses going out the driveway, those are going to be great examples of where tenants often waste water, and you can put a stop to that by coaching your tenants in terms of what you expect. Perhaps if you check your lease and you made sure you didn't allow for pools, you can deal with that situation as a potential lease violation, and make sure you coach your tenants into complying with the way you expect your properties to be run. Now, if you don't have any legal footing and you can't force them to stop washing their cars and you can't trust them to be responsible, you need to start calculating whether it makes any sense to keep renting to that person. If you can't enforce a lease provision because you don't have it covered there, then you can start looking at changing the rental amount to reflect the extreme cost of the water and sewer, and chances are the tenant won't want to accept that amount and will leave. Or simply just saying goodbye to the tenant altogether. Because chances are, if there's somebody that's not listening to and responding to your coaching, they're probably going to be an issue as a tenant in a lot of other ways too. And it might just make more sense for you to upgrade from them, especially if it's not profitable for you to work with them. So I hope some of these ideas have helped out and gives you some thought about how to get into your next or your first rental property and how to anticipate some issues and perhaps put a stop to them before they get started. That's, as always, the best way to avoid an issue is to know from somebody that's already dealt with it. So we have a lot of videos on our channel that'll teach you more about all the different aspects of real estate and renting property. And we'd love it if you checked out maybe this next video as well.